Quality Commission, and I hereby call this meeting to order. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we are continuing to hold these important meetings virtually. The IQC meeting logistics will follow Governor Gavin Newsom's March 17, 2020 Executive Order N-2920, which allows state bodies that fall under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act to hold public meetings that are covered by Bagley-Keene with web conferencing and audio conferencing. Therefore, today's IQC meeting is a video conference meeting with a live webcast. Public comment on items on today's meeting agenda may be provided during the meeting by dialing 712-770-5330, and then following a prompt to provide a participant access code. Callers will then be added to a queue. The operator will notify callers when it is their turn to provide public comments. If possible, we recommend members of the public dialing in for public comment continue to view the live stream of the meeting for a better understanding of the meeting status. When it's your turn, please mute the livecast audio. When giving public comment, please state the following: your first and last name, your organization affiliation, if any, and third, your public comments. Again, the phone number is 712-770-5330. The access code is 3874109. The phone number and access code will also be announced at the start of public comment for each item. This is also outlined on the September 22nd to 23rd, 2021 IQC agenda posted on the IQC webpage. Now I will introduce each commissioner participating in today's meeting. When I call your name, unmute your microphone and confirm your attendance, then mute your microphone again. Commissioner Christina Andre.
Present.
Commissioner Mariana Astorga Almanza.
Present.
Commissioner Christine Chapman.
Present.
Commissioner Shay Fairchild.
Present.
Commissioner Anita Friedman.
Present.
Commissioner Lindsay Gotanda.
Present.
Commissioner Lily Jarvis.
Present.
Commissioner Yolanda Munoz.
Present.
Commissioner David Pantai. Commissioner David Pantai. Commissioner Danae Popovich.
Present.
Commissioner Alma Delia, sorry, my apologies. Commissioner Alma Delia Renteria.
Present.
Commissioner Pam Williamson.
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Young.
Present.
Student Commissioner Juliana Garcia.
Present.
Assembly Member James Ramos. Senator Ben Allen. All right, and our Vice Chair, Deborah Costa Hernandez, will not be present today. Today is also the first day for our student member, Juliana Garcia, and it's her first IQC meeting, so we want to give her a warm welcome, and we will be doing the oath of office and all of that shortly. But we'd also like to welcome board members Glover Woods and Rodriguez, who are in attendance today, along with board members Rucker and Strauss. So we have 4 board members with us today. Very nice, very nice. All right, so I will now lead us in the salute to the flag. I believe the PowerPoint will show the flag. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now turn the meeting over to Board Member Strauss to swear in our student board member.
So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to administer the oath to Juliana. And so I'm going to say a part of it and then you repeat it after me. This is your oath of office for the Instructional Quality Commission. I, Juliana Garcia.
I, Juliana Garcia.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
So congratulations, Juliana. We are delighted to have you as a student voice and member of this important commission. Would you like to say a few words?
Of course. Thank you for having me here today. I'm honored to be the student commissioner, and I really can't wait for what this term has to hold for me. And I thank all of you and everyone who's helped me be here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. And again, welcome to the Instructional Quality Commission. Now let's turn to an overview of today's agenda. And the agenda remains unchanged and includes, we will hear public comment on the submissions for the 2021 Arts Education Adoption of K-8 instructional materials. We'll recommend the submissions for the 2021 Arts Education Adoption of K-8 instructional materials to the State Board. We will hear public comments on the submissions for the 2021 World Languages Adoption of K-8 instructional materials. We'll recommend the submissions for the 2021 World Languages Adoption of K-8 instructional materials to the State Board, and we'll receive a presentation from the Clearinghouse for Specialized Media and Technology. At this time, I would like to review some procedures regarding today's video conference meeting. During commissioner deliberation today, I will call on each commissioner by name. Only the commissioner who is speaking will have his or her microphone unmuted. All others' microphones will remain muted. Commissioners use the raise hand button if you want to speak and make a comment. Wait until you are called upon to unmute your microphone and speak. All votes will be done by roll call. Next is item 1E, which is the approval of the May 19, 2021 and August 17, 2021 IQC meeting minutes. The public comment for this agenda item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on the calendar. You have the minutes of the May 19, 2021 and August 17, 2021 IQC meeting before you. If you have substantive changes, please present them now. If there are minor changes not affecting the content, please email them to Denise Figueroa, IQC Liaison. And let me make sure I could see the raised hands before I ask for a motion. There we go. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Thank you. I believe that was Commissioner Fairchild. The motion has been made by Commissioner Fairchild. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Commissioner Chapman. I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. Is there any discussion of the motion? Is there any public comments on the motion? All right, I believe. All right, thank you. I believe we are ready to vote. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
Chair Reston?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturgill-Amansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai? Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Commissioner Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Student Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Assemblymember Ramos, Senator Allen. The motion passes.
Commissioner Williamson has her hand up.
Sorry about that. Apparently, I'm having some technical issue because I didn't hear you call my name, but I would say yes to that vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is item 1G, next is item 1F, which is my chair report. And I'll keep it brief. I do want to say this is the third year that I've been on this commission. And today is September 22nd, which means those who might be watching or listening who are interested in themselves being on this commission, you have a few days left to get your application in. The IQC, the Instructional Quality Commission, is seeking applicants for the commission for next year. And I can say, as a classroom teacher who is full-time in the classroom for my whole career, this has been a really great experience for me to help advocate for my school and my community, and also remain in the classroom as an educator. I've fully enjoyed this experience, and anybody who's listening or who's watching who has thoughts about what the instructional resources or upcoming frameworks or any of that should look like, I highly encourage you, if you are an educator, especially to consider joining this commission and looking at that application. All the materials are on our website. It is due Friday, so if you haven't started yet, that is a short turnaround. However, I believe in you. You could take today, take tomorrow, take the time you need and get it in by noon Friday to apply to be here on the commission and be part of our conversations about how we can help continue to improve the education that our children across California receive. And I also want to say the mathematics framework revision continues to be underway. And the second field review, the second 60-day field review for the mathematics framework draft will be December through February. So that is coming up. So those of you who are very passionate about that particular framework and who submitted comment and who want to have your voice heard on the continuing development of that framework, definitely look for that second 60-day field review, which will be coming up this winter. And I would also like to acknowledge the commissioners who facilitated the first ever virtual adoption training and deliberations. We, of course, are spending the majority of our meeting this time around looking at the instructional materials, the K-8 instructional materials for arts and world languages. And to do that whole process virtually is not easy. So I want to shout out the commissioners who were part of that. Commissioners Fairchild, Commissioner Jarvis, Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Young, and Commissioner Emeritus Naditz, who came back to help with that process. I had the pleasure of joining in here and there during the course of the week in July, and there's a lot of links, a lot of tabs, a lot of conversations. This virtual stuff, even though we've been doing it for well over a year now, it's still a challenge. And that was the first time ever having those very critically important deliberations fully virtual, fully online. And I just want to shout out the commissioners and everybody at Seaford who helped make that a really smooth process for everybody involved to have their voice heard and to be part of the process. And also, it is towards the end of September, and most schools, I think all public K-12 schools, have been in session for several weeks now. I, as a classroom teacher, can definitely say that students are very, very much appreciative of being back in person, despite the ongoing challenges that we are facing. I know my students seem to have a new appreciation for the in-person experience, that education that is so important in education. And I just want to shout out all the educators, all the teachers, and the administrators. A lot of administrators, maybe some who are here on the commission today, have had to spend so much time with the contract tracing and just juggling all these new duties on top of what administrators already are asked to do. And I know that's been quite difficult. And I just want to shout out everybody who's been working hard to try to make this as seamless and as humanizing as possible to welcome our young people back in. And lastly, I want to also point out that these deliberations today, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm glad we have several state board liaisons with us today, and I'm glad that we are here talking about the arts and world languages. I myself teaching within an arts education and media academy, I really know that the arts, especially right now, especially as we're enduring this pandemic and there's so much going on in the world, I know students are really reaching for ways to help communicate and process what their experience is and what's going on. And even though I'm a history teacher, I'm not an arts teacher. I just know it's so important. And then the world languages component as well, two content areas that really emphasize and highlight just the humanity of it all when we are trying to teach our children and build up the next generation of learners in California. So I'm very much looking forward to these deliberations today. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to our executive director. So next on the agenda is item 1G, which is the executive director's report. And also I just quick shout out to Dr. Mike Torres for stepping in as our executive director and just doing a phenomenal job on top of all the other work that he already was doing before becoming interim executive director. So I'll hand it over to Executive Director Torres.
Thank you so much, Commission Chair Rustin. Hello, commissioners and board members. I'm very happy to be here serving as your interim executive director. And I want to take a second to acknowledge the work of former executive director Coates, who has made a huge impact on so many through this commission. Commission is tasked with, and I count myself lucky to be here, to be a part of and witness the instructional materials adoption process firsthand. I don't have a lot more IQC related activities to add to what Commission Chair Rustin has already stated, nor anything to add to the summaries of the arts and world languages adoptions that SMC Chair Astorga Almanza and SMC Chair Renteria will be providing later on today. I do want to take a moment, however, to share that there have been some changes at the executive leadership level at the California Department of Education. Chief Deputy Superintendent Stephanie Gregson has accepted an opportunity to continue making an impact on student outcomes through another organization. We are lucky, however, to have Chief Deputy Superintendent Mary Nicely step into that role. And similarly, Deputy Superintendent Rachel Maves, who introduced me at your last meeting, has accepted a promotional opportunity whose last day at the department was August 20th. Since then, I have had the pleasure of working with Deputy Superintendent Cheryl Cotton, who now leads the newly minted Instruction, Measurement, and Administration branch of the CDE. And speaking of, I'd like to take a moment to pass the microphone over to Cheryl, who's here to share a few words. Deputy Superintendent Cotton.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Torres. You did an outstanding job. And I would like to say to the IQC, thank you for continuing to advise the State Board of Education on matters related to curriculum and instruction. These matters are a critical part of the ongoing work of the department, so crucial to the teaching and learning that occurs in counties and districts throughout the state. I've learned and am so appreciative that during the 2020 and 2021 terms, amid a global pandemic and strictly virtual meetings, the IQC convened to discuss the development of mathematics framework and the adoption of the ethics studies model curriculum. You all recommended the eventual adoptions of the 2020 world languages and 2020 arts education curriculum frameworks, including the criteria for evaluating instructional materials submitted for adoption. Today's meeting continues this work as the IQC holds meetings to discuss the evaluation of the arts and world languages instructional materials that have been submitted by publishers and makes recommendations to the State Board to adopt or reject each submission. All of this valuable work translates into guidance and recommendations that help the State Board ensure that local educational agencies can effectively and equitably implement the key teaching and learning practices that support the students of our great state. Thank you so much for all of your work today.
Thank you so much, Deputy Superintendent Cotton. And with that said, I'm going to pass it back over to IQC Chair Rustin.
Thank you, thank you. Next on the agenda is item 1H, which is the report from our State Board of Education. So I would like to hand it over to State Board of Education liaisons. I believe we have Board Member Rucker, Strauss, Glover Woods, and Rodriguez here in the building with us today, in the virtual building.
Well, I'll begin, and thank you, Chair Rustin, for your wonderful opening comments. Just so appreciate the comments that you made. I will add on that we are, as State Board, looking for our commissioner appointees besides Instructional Quality Commission. We have a couple other commissions, and all those applications are due at the end of the week. So I'll add on to how important the voices are. We have our CPAG, our California Practitioners Advisory Commission. We're actually looking for 7 members. And so we really need people who meet the following criteria: superintendents or other administrators from local education agencies, principals or other school leaders, parents of students currently enrolled in the K-12 public education system, member of local school boards, and career and technical educators. So we'd really appreciate if you're interested that you get your application in. Also, we're looking for the Advisory Commission on Charter Schools. We're looking for a charter school representative for that commission as well. And you should know that we are looking for a student who will also be appointed to the Instructional Quality Commission, much like Juliana is. And we are actually recruiting for a student board member as well for the State Board of Education. So please consider applying. The interview and screening committee is anxious to review your applications, and we really recognize how important the service is and the voices. So I just wanted to say that. Secondly, Member Rucker and I are the liaisons to Instructional Quality Commission, and Member Glover Woods and Rodriguez are the liaisons for the visual performing arts and the world language adoption. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things and then turn it over to Member Rucker so I don't do the only report. We have actually 2 new state board members. Member Navo, who was on our state board, became the executive director of the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, which is the agency that provides support and targeted assistance for districts that need support and other professional development. And so we were very fortunate to have Dr. Francisco Escobedo join us at our state board meeting. He is recently the superintendent of Chula Vista Elementary for the last 11 years and is currently the executive director of the National Center for Urban Transformation at San Diego State University, where he's an adjunct professor of educational administration. We also have our new student board member who serves during her senior year. Rana Bananka was sworn in. She is currently a senior at Modesto High School in their IB, International Baccalaureate Program. And in addition to serving on the state board, she's a student board member in the Modesto City Schools and is her student rep on her district's LCAP and wellness committees, important voices with what we're doing at state board. So I'm going to give you a couple. There's 3 areas that we talked about and then ask Member Rucker to follow up with more specifics because I'd like to balance our voices. One, we looked at new blueprints to have a shortened California assessment of student performance and progress and talked about that implication for the growth model. That was really important work. We also talked about some changes in the LCAP template because of legislation that was needed to help guide some information on our LCAP template. And then also, so I think, and with that, I think I'll turn it over to Member Rucker and then Member Glover Woods and Rodriguez to add any comments for the state board report. So Member Rucker, I'm going to turn it over to you for any comments about any of the updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board Member Strauss. And I want to take a moment just to welcome our brand new student member. I am quite sure that while your school district and your peers are very proud of your representation from Modesto and the work that you're going to do in this commission, I also want to take a moment to recognize the support I know you're receiving from home and family as well. So I know this is a proud moment for your parents as well to see you stepping up to do this work. I listened with great intent when you were giving your oath of office. That's the same oath of office that all of the 4 board members you see on this panel today, as well as the other IQC members, took. And that's a very important statement, not only about your promise to engage in the work that we are doing, but also the leadership and the responsibility that you are choosing to shoulder as a public official. So I'm very proud to see you here today. I'm very glad to see that student voice is being carried on with another student leader who's been identified from among our ranks. I also want to welcome Cheryl Cotton and Mike Torres today for their work. The start of school, the school year is always a transition for students and teachers as we see a new classroom and we see new students and new classes and learning communities are forming. And as you heard from all the changes that Dr. Torres explained and also that Cheryl Cotton explained, the Department of Education is in transition as well. And the IQC continues to be in transition. This means that change is a good thing. And so there's with that in mind, there were a lot of transitions and changes that Board Member Strauss talked about that the board took a look at. At the beginning of the school year, it's always a good time for the state to take a step back and take a look at the work that was done with our assessment practices. Because of the pandemic, as you all know, we made changes with the assessment blueprint and created and approved a shorter assessment because of the pandemic. Well, the board has made the decision that there was a lot learned from taking that step, and there were some great benefits derived from approving a shortened blueprint. So the blueprints that we looked at the board meeting in September continued with that process, and we've decided to continue with the work of that blueprint, of that shorter blueprint, and looking not only for the benefits, the instructional benefits in time spent for instruction over assessment, but also looking at what we can learn about student growth and achievement from the use of those assessments. So these changes and that transition give us an opportunity not only to understand what it is we're doing with assessment, but to understand what we are tasking assessments to do and to tell us about student work. It'll be interesting to see as we go forward, not only how the new growth model that will come online in 2024 informs what we learn about school programs, but also what else we can talk to each other and community stakeholders about concerning the growth model. I also want to give a little bit more detail about what was actually done to improve or make changes on the LCAP template. There were 5 specific changes that were provided and recommended by staff. We did not take action at the board member to approve those changes, but we did take them under advisement, take a look at them, and that work will continue through the stakeholder process toward development. One of the most important elements that was considered, and I'm going to work backwards on the list of ideas, was looking at how it is we refer to our partners, the people that we go to in our learning community who have a role and who have a stake or concern about the decisions that are made in the development of the LCAP, and that's the word stakeholder. So in addition to the requirements that were implemented by 2 pieces of legislation, Senate Bill 98 and AB 130, the CDE has received feedback from a lot of Native American communities that the use of the term stakeholder is offensive because it connotes a historical practice about staking a claim on land. And so we are looking for another way to refer to stakeholders and looking to change not only that reference, but that particular practice of engagement. The other changes that are going to be considered and approved at the November board meeting include a change in the description of how and when the stakeholders are engaged on the use of funds that are provided in the budget, a description of how additional concentration grant add-ons can be used by the LEA to increase staff. There's also a change in the description of how and when stakeholders are engaged in the use of one-time federal funds, and an update on the implementation of the Federal American Rescue Act. So there was a lot of conversation, and this was a very big discussion item with feedback and engagement from many of our community partners. So that work will continue with an approval of changes in the LCAP template in November. And with those changes, that improved LCAP template will be ready with instructions and guidance to all districts for districts to begin their LCAP revision process starting in December. So that's a lot of detail. I hope those are the things that Board Member Strauss was asking me to give the details on. I will turn it over now to Board Member Glover Woods and Board Member Rodriguez.
Thank you so much. I don't have anything to add from the very extensive reports that you've already heard, but I did want to take a moment, first of all, to welcome Juliana to the IQC. It's just so exciting to see you here on the screen and excited to have you as a part of this very important commission. I also wanted to take an opportunity to thank all of the commissioners and others who worked tirelessly over the last few months to review the instructional material options for world languages, as well as engage in the deliberations that took place over the summer. So looking forward to a really great meeting, great conversation, and again, much thanks and gratitude for the sacrifice of time from those commissioners and others that served in that important role. Thank you.
I think we'll turn it back to you, Chair Rustin, at this time, and you'll hear additional board comments, I think, throughout the process today. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you all for walking us through some of the changes that are happening. It does sound like a lot of change. And my wife always gets on me because I tend not to like change, but these sound like changes that are in the effort of continuing to improve all the work that we do. So thank you for those updates for sure. And next up is item 1I, which is to approve the proposed revised 2022 IQC meeting calendar. So the public comment for this agenda item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comments on the IQC meeting calendar. And I will turn it over to Interim Executive Director Torres to discuss a little bit the reasoning behind these calendar changes.
Thank you so much, Commission Chair Rustin. The proposed revised IQC meeting calendar includes a new meeting on March 15 to 16, 2022. As you're aware, the State Board of Education approved a revised schedule of significant events for the 2022 revision to the mathematics framework. In Commission Chair Rustin's report, he shared that the mathematics framework is heading into the second 60-day field review pursuant to the California Code of Regulations, Section 9515C. After the second field review, the IQC and the SMC may be requested to meet to hear public comment should the State Board make that request. The new proposed IQC meeting in March is a placeholder should the State Board make that request. Similarly, the May 18 to 19, 2022 IQC meeting that was existing already on the calendar was going to be used to discuss matters related to the mathematics instructional materials adoptions. However, with the aforementioned delay in the mathematics framework, the Commission will not need to meet for that purpose. Commission Chair Rustin, the floor is back to you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about the proposed revised 2022 IQC meeting calendar? If you have any questions, please use the raise hand feature. All right, well then, can I have a motion to approve the proposed revised 2022 IQC meeting calendar? I see Commissioner Munoz.
So moved.
Thank you, thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Munoz. Is there a second to the motion? I see Commissioner Williamson.
I second.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Williamson. Is there any discussion or public comments?
There is no public comment at this time.
All right, the public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I believe we are ready to vote. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call votes?
Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Student Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Assemblymember Ramos, Senator Allen. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is item 2, which is the executive committee. So I call the executive committee to order. The public comment for this agenda item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. So we are meeting today as an executive committee to appoint Student Commissioner Garcia to subject matter committees for the remainder of 2021. Members of the executive committee, let us consult the survey results. And it looks like Commissioner Garcia listed her preferences as History, Social Sciences, SMC, the World Language SMC, and the Art SMC. I do believe we have an opening on each of those available. Oh, I'm sorry. I think Denise was going to walk us through that. I'm sorry, Denise.
No problem at all. You're correct. You are absolutely correct. And there is no public comment at this time. So if you all agree, she will be appointed to those 3 subject matter committees.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone on the executive committee that, I guess, disagrees with appointing her to the 3 SMCs that I mentioned, which is History, Social Sciences, World Language, and Arts SMC? All right. Well, then there we have it. Commissioner Garcia, you are now appointed to the History SMC, the World Language SMC, and the Art SMC. And I now close the executive committee meeting. And now it's time for item 3, which is the Arts Subject Matter Committee. I will now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Astorga Almanza, who is chair of the Arts Subject Matter Committee.
Thank you, Chair Rustin. Good morning, everyone. I call to order the Arts Subject Matter Committee. The members of the Arts SMC are student member Juliana Garcia, myself, SMC Vice Chair Pantai, Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, and Commissioner Popovich. The focus for today's meeting is to hear public comment on the programs that were submitted for consideration in the 2021 arts adoption and to forward our recommendation to the full Instructional Quality Commission for those programs that the SMC deems are fully aligned to the state board adopted 2019 content standards, the 2020 framework, and the evaluation criteria. The full commission will deliberate and forward its recommendations to the to the board tomorrow. For this item, the meeting will proceed as follows. First, I will provide a brief review of the adoption processes that have occurred this year. At the end of this review, I will ask each of the panel facilitators to present to the subject matter committee their panel's recommendation. Second, we'll take public comment, and the public hearing time certain has been publicly noted as 10:45 a.m. today, which is actually in just a few minutes. Once the public hearing is concluded, we will discuss any issues related to the programs, including but not limited to the written public comment forwarded to us by the CDE, comment provided at the August 17th, 2021 meeting, and comment provided during the public hearing today. As part of this discussion, we must come to consensus on any additions to our recommendations, such as additional edits we may wish to include. The Arts SMC must agree on any edits or corrections submitted in public comment if that information is to be included in the recommendation to the full commission. All such changes to the reports of findings from the review panels must be specifically referenced in the motion to recommend the program for it to move forward to the next level. Once the discussion is concluded, we will vote to recommend or not recommend the 5 programs submitted for the 2021 arts adoption to the full commission. Now we will hear from Kyle Petty, Education Programs Consultant and Lead on the Arts Adoption, on any statutory requirements that we should consider. Kyle?
Thank you, Chair Astorga Almanza. The Curriculum Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division initiated the 2021 Arts Adoption with an initial publisher bulletin posted September 24th, 2020. Following the bulletin, additional adoption information was posted on the CDE's website, and notifications were sent to known publishers. And ultimately, 5 arts publishers submitted programs, 3 in visual arts and 2 in music. As you are aware, the individual review panel reports of findings recommend to the IQC and for eventual state board adoption, 3 of the 5 submitted instructional programs. After consideration of the review panel's reports of findings, the IQC advisory report, public comment, in addition to the previously stated process for notifying stakeholders or partners and soliciting publisher submissions, the CDE has determined that a state board recommendation of fewer than 5 programs satisfies California Education Code Section 60200E and the criteria and procedures used to evaluate the submitted materials for that adoption are consistent with the SBE adopted arts education framework and its approved evaluation criteria for instructional materials. I will mention in conclusion that the reports of findings developed by the review panels are available on the Arts Education Instructional Materials Adoption webpage. And that is my report.
Thank you, Kyle. I will begin by reviewing some of the major steps taken in the process this year that have brought us to this meeting today. In January of this year, the State Board appointed 28 instructional materials reviewers and 15 content review experts that were recommended by the Commission. On January 27, 2021, the California Department of Education hosted the publisher's invitation to submit meeting, where the statutory and regulatory requirements for participation in the adoption process were explained. As a result of Gavin Newsom's executive order N-2920 related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the week-long training for board-appointed reviewers was held as an audio/video teleconference and live webcast in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. The training included synchronous meetings and asynchronous modules and took place from April 12th through the 16th. IMRs, which again are the instructional materials reviewers, and CREs, which are content review experts, they were trained to evaluate the submitted programs for alignment with the standards, framework, and the evaluation criteria adopted by the board. On the final day of the training, reviewers attended presentations by the publishers of the programs that they were assigned to review. During the late spring and summer following the training, each reviewer conducted an independent review of the instructional materials assigned to their panel. Like the training, the deliberations were entirely virtual, with reviewers convening in panel-specific Zoom meetings during the week of July 19th through the 23rd. The panels engaged in in-depth discussions about the assigned programs. The panels took public comment twice each day. After reaching consensus on the recommendations, the panel members developed a report of findings for each of the programs. And then these reports were forwarded to the Commission and were also posted on the CDE website for anyone to review. The Commission then hosted a public meeting on August 17th to receive public comment on the IMR and CRE reports of findings. At today's meeting, the Arts SMC will conduct a public hearing and then take action to forward our recommendations on the program submitted for adoption to the full Commission for action tomorrow. In most cases, the programs that will be recommended for adoption are considered pending upon satisfactory completion of specified edits and corrections and social content citations. I will pause right here. It is 10:45, and I believe that is our time certain for public comment. Is that correct, Dr. Torres?
So at this point, we can proceed. So the time certain nature of the public comment is the public comment cannot occur before 10:45, but may.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we honored it if it had to be at 10:45. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your attention to the time.
So I'll continue. Edits and corrections are defined as inexact language, imprecise definitions, mistaken notions, mislabeling, misspellings, and grammatical errors. Edits and corrections do not include rewrites, which would include revising a section, chapter, or an entire page, or adding any new content to the program. Such changes are not allowed during the adoption process. Edits to a program to address social content issues must also meet these definitions. Additionally, certain publishers identified and submitted minimal errata as public comment for their programs. These publishers submitted errata forms are included in the public comment at the box.com link shared with the IQC members and members of the public. All of the publishers submitted errata meet the definition of edits and corrections pursuant to the California Code of Regulations, Title 5, Section 9510. And the changes indicated are considered part of the overall recommendation of the program. Additional meetings may be held with publishers to address identified edits and corrections to the state board, after the state board takes action on the adoption at their November 2021 meeting. I'd also like to note that the commission is not required to agree with the IMR and CRE reports of findings and may change the overall recommendations or lists of recommended edits and corrections when it submits its own recommendation to the state board. However, Title V regulations specifically state that the commission may not recommend rewrites to instructional materials. All commissioners were given the web link to the posted reports of findings for each of the programs reviewed and a list of all public comments collected prior to today's meeting. The public comment list also includes all publishers submitted errata received by the CDE and any publisher challenges to specific edits or social content citations included in the reports. Members of the public may access the IMR CRE reports from the CDE webpage. A box.com link containing the list of public comments received is available for review by members of the public. Commissioners also have access to additional public comments submitted to the CDE after the most recent distribution of comments to the commissioners. Before opening the public hearing, I would like to ask the panel facilitators to present an overview of their panel's report to the subject matter committee. In your presentation, please address the panel's overall recommendation on the programs that they reviewed. SMC members will note that Commissioner Costa Hernandez, who facilitated a visual arts panel, is out today, but I will be inviting Letty Krause, Education Programs Consultant and moderator of the panel, to provide a brief overview in her absence. So we had 3 review panels. The first one, Arts Attack K8, and Davis Publications, Inc., Explorations in Art, 2nd edition, grades 1 through 6, was facilitated by Commissioner Fairchild. So Commissioner Fairchild, can you give us a brief overview?
Thank you very much. First, I just really want to thank the Seaford staff for making this process incredibly smooth. The amount of work that went behind the scenes was extraordinary, and I just really want to give a big shout out to the Seaford staff and thank them for making it great. Our group was very thoughtful and thorough, had great thorough discussions. We had 2 programs to review. So the first program, Arts Attack, and the recommendation from the group, Arts Attack is not recommended for adoption because the instructional materials do not include content as specified in the California Arts Standards. And they do not meet all the criteria in Category 1 and do not show strengths in Categories 2, 3, and 4. We'll move to Davis Publications. Explorations in Art, 2nd edition, is recommended for adoption because the instructional materials do include content as specified in the California Arts Standards for public schools and meet all of the criteria in Category 1 with strengths in Categories 2 through 5.
Great. Is there anything else, Commissioner Fairchild?
No, we just had those two.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, the second group reviewed the Art of Education Flex Curriculum for grades kinder through grade 8. And Letty Krause, on behalf of Commissioner Costa Hernandez, will be giving us an overview of those deliberations. Letty?
Thank you, Commissioner. So a panel of 5 reviewed the K-8 Flex Curriculum from the publisher Art of Education. The panel convened and began deliberations on the morning of July 19th. After reviewing the initial tally data and engaging in discussion, the panel developed and submitted 4 questions for the publisher. The publisher addressed these questions on July 20th. After additional discussion, the panel came to consensus to recommend the Flex Curriculum K-8 program for adoption. They then worked together to develop the report of findings. I'll now summarize their report, which is available to the public on the CDE website. The K-8 Flex Curriculum from publisher Art of Education includes a scope and sequence for California, a teacher's edition, implementation resources, and student collections, lessons, videos, resources, and assessments. The panel found that the Flex Curriculum program met all criteria in Category 1, content alignment with standards. They provided citations covering all grades K through 8, including lessons covering sculpture, paper weaving, paper mache, photo montage, museum curation, digital art, and graffiti. In Category 2, program organization, citations were provided to indicate strengths. These included the implementation page with an overview of the program that allows teachers to access content efficiently. That content includes support documents such as the teacher's edition, the collections, the resources, and the lessons, and the flex assessments, which include formative and summative assessments, peer feedback, reflections and critiques, and those are at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. In Category 3, assessment, the panel provided citations to indicate that the flex program provides teachers with assistance in using assessments for planning instruction and monitoring student progress toward mastering the content. Citations covered a range of formative and summative assessments, including self-assessment, student reflection, critique, peer assessment, monitoring student understanding, and how to adapt instruction using evidence from assessment. In Category 4, access and equity, citations were provided to indicate flex program strength in providing strategies for differentiated instruction for all students, guidance for teachers based on current and confirmed research to adapt curriculum to meet the needs of all students, and strategies for meeting the needs of English learners. Finally, in Category 5, instruction planning and support, citations were provided to indicate that the FLEX program contains a clear roadmap for teachers to follow when planning instruction, and that the materials are designed to help teachers provide effective, standards-based instruction and ensure opportunities for all students to learn the essential skills and knowledge specified in the standards. Examples of this include the differentiation guide, the teacher's edition with pacing guides and instructional strategies, the search feature, which includes a curricular connection filter, technical support, and suggestions for appropriate use of resources, such as the tips for using apps to manipulate artwork, user-friendly components, and platform-neutral materials, such as the Flex platform walkthrough, and safety guidelines for the use of materials, facilities, in the online environment. These include a guide to digital citizenship and a planning for safety guide. The panel requested 5 corrections to the program. All of these changes were related to an imprecise definition of a ceramics technique, and you can see the details in the report. The panel submitted no social content corrections, and they completed their report of findings recommending adoption of the FLEX program on July 21st. And that concludes my report.
Letty, thank you so much for presenting that on behalf of Commissioner Costa Hernandez. Really appreciate it. Next, the third and final group reviewed Opus U's program, Opus U Learning for K through 8, and Quaver Ed Music for K through 5, and that was facilitated by Commissioner Jarvis. So Commissioner Jarvis, can you provide us a report?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Like Commissioner Fairchild, I too would like to recognize the talented Seaford staff who planned the arts instructional materials adoption training and deliberation weeks. It goes without saying that taking something that has traditionally been done in person and effectively recreating it into a virtual space takes vision, talent, effort, and creativity, and this was accomplished very smoothly. Thank you for that. I served as a facilitator of the panel which reviewed 2 music programs. Both submissions were digital submissions. The first program reviewed by the ensemble panel was Quaver Ed Music. When the tally sheets that capture the independent reviewers' recommendations were displayed, it was evident that the reviewers agreed with one another. For this reason, the panel was able to move through all of the landmark stages relatively quickly and recommend Quaver Ed Music for adoption. The report of findings produced by the panel indicates that the instructional materials met all of the criteria in all categories. For the second program, Opus U Learning, the panel spent much of the week discussing and deliberating. It appeared that the panel was challenged with the organization of the instructional materials. They seemed to struggle finding evidence of all elements outlined in the criteria. In their deliberations, the panelists discussed that in some instances, the entire breadth of the standard was only partially addressed by the instructional materials, and not all of the elements within the standards were covered. At various points during the week, the publisher made public comments, and in these instances where the judgment of the panel was brought into question, the panel members chose to go back and have a different panel member check their work. In the end, the panel produced a report of findings not recommending the adoption of Opus U Learning. The panel indicated that the instructional materials do not meet the content specified by California art standards for California public schools, nor the criteria in Category 1, or show strengths in Categories 2, 4, and 5. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jarvis. Next, we move on to item, is it 3B, which is the public hearing. And so I would like to now open the Arts SMC public hearing on the 2021 arts adoption. Before we take the first speaker, I want to remind the audience of what the Arts SMC can and cannot do. We cannot change the state content standards. We cannot change the evaluation criteria for this adoption. We cannot delay or stop the adoption. We cannot rewrite the text. However, we can recommend minor edits and corrections, which were described earlier, and we can also recommend additional social content citations. The public comment will be organized as follows. Denise will announce to the speakers when it is their turn to make the public comment. Speakers, when prompted, please state your name, your affiliation, if any, and begin your comment. As a reminder, written materials for the Arts SMC can be sent to the following email address, iqc@cde.ca.gov. During the public hearing, speakers will be allowed 1 minute to speak. Please do not repeat what previous speakers have said. If you agree with a previous speaker, you can just state that and yield your time. Speakers may not yield their time to another speaker, nor may add speakers to their time by reading comments from another member of the public who is not present. Denise, do we have anybody providing public comment today?
We do. First speaker, you may begin.
Hello, folks. My name is Scott Ellaway, and I'm the president of Opus U. I'd like to comment on agenda item 3B as a participating publisher. We submitted a digital music curriculum K through 8 to the Instructional Quality Commission for review on May 7th. The program has not been updated since the submission date. On August 17th, we participated in public comment by telephone and submitted robust written evidence to this committee confirming that the program meets all requirements. In addition, we have seen written evidence submitted to the IQC independently from Professor Sumetz, Dr. Michelle McConkey, both leading specialists in music education from California State University, who confirm that the program meets all requirements. The evidence submitted by Opus U to the IQC and made available to the public is unequivocal. We urge this committee to recommend Opus U Learning for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Famous. I'm a music teacher, parent, and I would like to comment on agenda item 3B. I have been following the arts education adoption process, and I am concerned that if the Opus U program is not adopted, then public schools will have access to only one curriculum, serving K through 5th grade until the next adoption cycle. Since I have older children, I am concerned that grades 6 and up will be left unattended. I have reviewed the curriculum submitted by Opus U along with the rebuttal report, and it is clear that this curriculum would be of great benefit to the California public schools. I would urge the IQC to reconsider Opus U Learning for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
My name is Peter Doreen. I'm a parent and I also have a degree in art, and I was an educator for over 20 years. I've been following the arts adoption process, and truthfully, I was a little disappointed about the process and the steps that publishers must take. I agree we need a good process to make sure our curriculum is meeting the standards. But if a publisher doesn't meet the standards, we should be doing everything we can to make sure they are, just to give our schools more great choices. And to me, that is your job to make sure it happens. After reading the rebuttal report for Opus U, I would think this is a great example. To me, they have either proved they met the standards or they are so close that with a little tweak or addition, they could easily be another great options for our schools. As I understand it, as of right now, public schools will only have access to one option for music. Given the evidence submitted by Opus U, I would urge you to reconsider Opus U Learning for the adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Denise. I now close the Arts SMC public hearing on the 2021 Arts Adoption for kindergarten through grade 8. I want to thank today's speakers and express the appreciation of the Commission for the interest, time, and effort each of you has contributed to present your views to us today. Next, I would like to move on to item 3C. Now that we've taken public comment, we will conduct any necessary discussion and then make our motions to recommend programs to the full Commission. We will discuss the programs by the panels in which they were deliberating, starting with the visual arts programs in the Mosaic and Decoupage panels, and then moving to music programs in the ensemble panel. As a note, the Mosaic panel is reviewed Arts Attack K through 8 and Davis Explorations in Art 2nd edition, grades 1 through 6, and that was facilitated by Commissioner Fairchild. The Decoupage panel reviewed the Art of Education Flex Curriculum, grades K through 8, and that, well, I was not the facilitator of that one, but it was Costa Hernandez. The ensemble panel reviewed Opus U Learning, grades K through 8, and Quaver Ed Music, and that was facilitated by Commissioner Jarvis. Now, let me discuss in more depth the voting procedures that we will be using so that you know what to expect. So the voting protocols, each motion should include the following language. Recommend publisher name, the program title, and grade level to the full commission. So as a Arts SMC, we're recommending to the full IQC. And then you need to include any of the following that apply with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE reports of findings. And then if we add any changes as part of our discussion, then we will add as amended by the SMC. And you guys know, of course, this is also written out, so you don't have to write this down right now because it's a little long. With any other edits and corrections and social content citations identified by the SMC. All of the motions are made in the affirmative when recommending the program to the full commission. If the motion passes, the program will be recommended by the SMC for adoption by the full commission. If the motion fails, the program will not be recommended by the SMC to the full commission for adoption by the State Board of Education. And then motion, second, discussion, and roll call. A motion will be made for each program, then followed by a second to the motion. Remember that making the motion or seconding does not obligate the commissioner to vote a certain way. It's just kind of opening it up for the discussion. Once the motion is made and seconded, commissioners will then have an opportunity to discuss any issues, including any additional edits and corrections, social content citations, publisher errata, or recommendations that run counter to the recommendation in the panel report of findings before we take the final vote. Remember that if any commissioner suggested edits, including those suggested in public comment, are to be included in the recommendation to the full commission, then they must be amended to that motion. For example, adding the comprehensive edits and corrections suggested by a publisher in their public comment submission, citing a particular date, would in some cases modify the edits and corrections listed in the report of findings. Then we will take a roll call on each motion. And it says here there are 6 present members, but I believe, is it 5?
So we are including our new student commissioner in our count, as well as Commissioner Rustin, who is a voting member.
Okay, so then it is 6?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you. So there are 6 present, so it takes 4 votes in the affirmative to recommend a program. Remember, as we vote, that there shall be no voting by proxy. The chair may call for substantive motions made from the floor to be submitted in writing to the recording secretary if necessary. This is the process for voting that we will follow for the rest of the meeting. Are there any comments or questions from members of the Arts SMC? Commissioner Fairchild? You are muted.
Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that all of the motions will be to recommend the program. And then if the program is not recommended, we would vote a nay. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. So all of the recommendations are in the affirmative.
Thank you.
So motion to recommend the program, and then the vote would be yes to recommend and then no to not recommend.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do any other members of the Arts SMC have any questions or comments? And I'm just going to the different screen to see if there's any additional hands up. Okay, seeing none, then we begin. So I need a motion to recommend Arts Attack for kindergarten through grade 8 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE reports of findings. Commissioner Fairchild.
I would like to make a motion to recommend Arts Attack for kindergarten through 8th grade to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Great. The motion has been made by Commissioner Fairchild. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Popovich?
I second that motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Popovich. Now, is there any discussion about Arts Attack? This is our opportunity to discuss. Hold on. I'm pulling up my report of finding. And I do note that we did not receive any public comment for Arts Attack in the box. Commissioner Fairchild?
Can I make a general comment, because I think this addresses some of the public comment as well that we've heard throughout this process, is that even like our recommendations, the LEAs still have the opportunity to make their own recommendation or their own review of a program. And before, funding used to be tied to this list, but funding is not tied to this list. So I just wanted to make that general note that local agencies are still able to do their own content review. Just wanted to.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Fairchild. Is there anyone that has anything to add to it? Discussion, comments for Arts Attack? I'm just going through my two screens here. Seeing none, Dr. Torres, then would we, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Do we have any comments from the State Board liaison? Okay. So we don't have any comments or changes, any edits. So I don't need to have CDE staff summarize it. That's correct, right, Kyle? Okay, I see a thumbs up from Kyle. So then, because we don't have any sort of edits or corrections, are we able to move forward in the process, Dr. Torres? So the answer is yes. However, there is an opportunity to open up the discussion to any IQC members who are not a member of the Arts SMC. Okay. And if there's no further discussion after that, then there's no need to amend the motions and voting. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Torres. I appreciate it. So are there any commissioners that are not on the Arts SMC who would like to comment on this particular motion for Arts Attack? All right. Seeing none, then we will move forward with the motions. Correct, Dr. Torres, that were moved forward by Commissioner Fairchild and seconded by Commissioner Popovich? That is correct. So roll call vote at this time. Thank you. So then we're going to vote by roll call, and remember that only members of the Arts Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Estargal-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
So a no is going along with the recommendation, correct? No.
So right now the motion is to recommend Arts Attack to the full commission and to the state board for adoption. The panel has recommended the panel has provided a report that does not recommend. So a yes vote will move the program forward to the full commission and to this and possibly to the state board if the full commission says yes. A no vote will be a no, I do not want to recommend this program.
Okay, I will keep my vote as no.
Do you want me to restart the vote?
Yes, okay. I was just going to say then.
No problem.
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Chapman, for bringing up that question.
SMC Chair Estrada-Almanza?
No.
Commissioner Chapman?
No.
Commissioner Fairchild?
No.
Commissioner Popovich?
No.
Commissioner Garcia?
Abstain.
IQC Chair Rustin?
No.
The motion fails.
Thank you, Denise. All right, so now let's address the next program. And I need a motion to recommend Davis publication, Explorations in Art, 2nd edition, for grade 1 through grade 6 to the full commission, with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. Commissioner Fairchild.
I would like to make a recommendation for Davis Publications, Explorations in Art 2nd edition for grades 1 through 6 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Fairchild, and I see Commissioner Chapman's hand.
I second the motion.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. The motion has been seconded by her. Now, is there any discussion? And I'm going to go over to Davis Publications. This is our opportunity to review any public comment that we might have received, anything in the box or anything that we might have heard. As a reminder, I made notes to myself that we received public comment about their illustrations update request. There were 2 documents pertaining to that. And then there was also, I think that was it. Those just are the 2 documents, if I'm mistaken, or anybody else have anything to add to that?
So there were illustrations and errata.
Oh, the 109-page document? No? It was like a 1-pager?
It's a CDE form. And
okay.
It is 1 page. In the box link, it is a Word document.
All right. And so considering those things, just for clarification, if we did want to approve anything that they submitted, would we need to make note of that in this discussion or as part of a motion?
So should the commission, should the SMC want to include the changes proposed in the errata, that would be part of the motion. So the original motion will need to be amended.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anyone in the Arts SMC that wants to have a discussion about Davis Publications? And I'm looking on both screens. I will add that I think that we should go ahead and accept those, or the errata form and also the illustrations update request.
So do I amend my emotion? Do I amend the emotion? Not my emotion.
Well, first we would need, I believe, Kyle to summarize the requested changes, and then I would ask for an amended motion. Kyle?
Yes, thank you. So this would be a recommendation conditional on the accepted errata submitted by Davis Publications and the accepted changes to illustrations also submitted by Davis Publications.
Thank you, Kyle. So I do need an amendment to the motion to recommend Davis Publication Explorations in Art 2nd edition to the full commission with edits and corrections and social citations as noted in the report of findings with the, well, we didn't find any changes, but with the additional identified, I guess, approval of the errata and illustration forms. Commissioner Fairchild?
Can I just say so move, or do I need to repeat the whole thing?
Dr. Torres?
I believe that would be satisfactory.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Popovich?
I second that motion.
Great, thank you. So I believe that we're ready to vote by roll call. And remember that only members of the Arts SMC can vote on the motion. Denise, can you conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Estrada-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great, thank you, Denise. Now let's discuss the next program. I need a motion to recommend the Art of Education's Flex Curriculum for kindergarten through grade 8 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. Anybody want to make that motion? Commissioner Popovich.
I move to recommend the Art of Education Flex Curriculum for kindergarten through grade 8 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Thank you, Commissioner Popovich. Do I have a second to the motion? Commissioner Chapman?
I second the motion.
Great, thank you. Now let's go ahead and open this up for discussion. I did make a note that we did receive some public comment submitted by the publisher with the Flex Lesson Plan implementation, the plug and play rubric, and then clarification about photos in the program. And Commissioner Chapman, I saw that your hand was up. Is that part of the seconding the motion, or did you have something to add?
I apologize. I didn't lower my hand fast enough.
It's okay. It happens. So does anyone on the Arts SMC want to discuss this? Do we, does anyone have anything to add to this? All right. I do have a question. I don't know if for Kyle or for Dr. Torres. With the documents that the publisher submitted, they just showed a rubric. I didn't necessarily see a comment if they were recommending to clarify, to change something. Is that accurate?
So the document you're referring to is part of the deliberations handout. So that was a response to an issue that came up during the deliberations and then informed the decisions that went into the reports of findings. So while those are included, they are not making direct calls for edits, corrections, or changes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So last call for Arts SMC to discuss anything in regards to Art of Education. Seeing no comments here, are there any commissioners that are not on the Arts SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Are there any comments from the State Board Liaison? No, okay. We don't have any changes to recommend. So can we move forward with the initial motion that was made to discuss this? Great, thank you. I see Dr. Torres is nodding his head yes. So we are ready to vote by roll call. Denise?
SMC Chair Estrada-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Abstain.
I'm having problems saying that. IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Great, thank you, Denise. Now we're going to move on to discuss the first music program. As a reminder, all motions are made in the affirmative to recommend the program to a full commission. A yes vote means that the program will be recommended by the SMC for adoption by the full commission, and a no vote means the program will not be recommended by the SMC for adoption by the full commission. So let's address the next program. So I need a motion to recommend Opus U learning for kindergarten through grade 8 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. And so this motion is to open the discussion. Commissioner Chapman.
I move to recommend the Opus 1 learning for kindergarten through 8th grade to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings with the identified changes.
Okay, thank you for making that motion, Commissioner Chapman. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Rustin?
I second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Rustin. So now, is there any discussion? I guess I will add, before we open it up, that we did receive public comment on this particular item. Today, we heard 3 public comments, and we heard, I believe, 2 or 3 as well in the August meeting. And we have also received some publisher clarifications. They're the publisher's 192-page rebuttal, and then some public comment in support of the program from Sue Metz at Sac State, who is a music education professor, and also Dr. Michelle McConkey from Chico State, music education associate professor. So we have gotten some public comment on it, and let's discuss. And I'm just going to my second page here. Commissioner Fairchild.
So I appreciate the diligence of the publisher and the citations. I also want to say how much I appreciate, my light keeps going off if you see me waving, sorry. I also appreciate the deliberations. I had the opportunity to review the 192-page document as well as the curriculum, both the teacher's editions and the student edition. In addition, I listened to all of the deliberations to really try to wrap my head around the review. After a careful deliberation on myself, and I would like to state that I know that there is feedback from the publisher. However, I do agree with the content experts in the report of findings, and I just wanted to say that, like, I appreciated their time and effort into trying to verify the program to pass. I think that's all I have to say for now.
Great, thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Fairchild. Does anyone else in the Arts SMC want to provide some comment on this? Okay, I will add that I too reviewed the rebuttal from the publisher, and I went line by line with each of the comments there. I did find that they were able to provide some evidence that they had met standards, primarily through the use of unit overviews or listen and respond guides, which weren't part, it seemed like it was an additional document that you needed to access. So I did find some instances where they did meet the standard. However, I did find at least one where I felt that it didn't meet the complete standard in each of the grade levels. And my understanding is that if there's something, if it doesn't meet one of the standards in a particular grade, then we can't recommend that grade to move forward. Is that accurate, Dr. Torres?
That is correct. So it is a requirement for the program to meet all standards in every grade level.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Torres. So I did review each of those comments for every grade level for each of the criterion. And I would say that I also agree with the review panel's report of findings. And I felt that in particular, criteria 2 in organization, that I felt like that in addition to not meeting to all of the standards, that it was lacking in the organization there. It was very difficult to maneuver. And so I will support the report of findings. I also recognize that the public comment stated that there were concerns that there would be only one program to recommend. But I feel that simply because of that, we shouldn't move it forward just so that there are two. I think Commissioner Fairchild earlier, you made a point saying that the LEA can make its own recommendation. And so I do feel like we did our due diligence and really try and give the publisher the benefit of the doubt and really appreciate all of the effort that went into crafting this rebuttal. But again, I support the report of findings. Are there any commissioners, anybody else on Arts SMC that wants to provide a comment? All right, are there any commissioners that are not on the Arts SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board liaison? No? So we don't have any changes to summarize. So then, Dr. Torres, I'm sorry, can you please clarify how we move forward here?
Absolutely. So currently the motion is to recommend Opus U Inc.'s Opus U Learning for Kindergarten through Grade 8 to the full commission with the edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. So the SMC members can now, with your prompt, may vote. A yes vote will move the program forward to the full commission for recommendation to the state board. A no vote will basically tell the full commission that the SMC does not recommend the program for adoption by the state board.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. So in that case, Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Astorga Almanza?
No.
Commissioner Chapman?
No.
Commissioner Fairchild?
No.
Commissioner Popovich?
No.
Commissioner Garcia?
No.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Good job, good job. No.
The motion fails.
Thank you, Denise. Moving forward, I need a motion to recommend Quaver Ed music for kindergarten through grade 5 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. I need a motion. Thank you. Commissioner Rustin.
So I move that we recommend Quaver Ed Incorporated's Quaver Ed music for kindergarten through grade 5 to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Thank you, Commissioner Rustin, for making the motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Fairchild?
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Now, for Quaver Ed, before we start our discussion, I wanted to note, this is the one where the publisher submitted public comment with a 109-page errata form. And then I think the Lincoln format and quotation, that was part of the deliberations, if I'm not mistaken. So we're considering the errata form as a change. Is that correct, Kyle? Okay, Kyle is nodding his head yes.
That's correct, sorry.
Okay, so is there any discussion in regards to this program, Quaver Ed Music?
I'm sorry, did you say that you wanted to accept the errata? So we'll need to make an amendment to the, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I agree.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners who are not on the Arts SMC who would like to comment on this motion? Okay, seeing none. Are there any comments from the State Board liaison? Okay, no comments. May I please have the CDE staff, do I need to do that? Request the changes? Yes.
I can note that for you. That's fine. Okay. We would need to amend the motion and include the publisher submitted proposed edits and corrections from Quaver Ed Incorporated as part of the condition for recommending.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. So I will need an amendment to the motion to recommend Quaver Ed Music for kindergarten through grade 5 to the full commission with that publisher submitted errata. Commissioner Chapman?
I recommend that we amend the motion to accept Quaver Ed's kindergarten through 5 to the full commission with edits, corrections, social content, and citations noted in the IMR and CRE report of findings, including the errata that was submitted by the publisher.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. Do I have a second to the motion? Commissioner Popovich?
I second that motion.
Great, thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Popovich. And so I believe that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the Arts Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Estarga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Abstain.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Denise. I believe this concludes our voting. And I want to thank all members of the Arts SMC for your thoughtful discussion and actions today. Our recommendations will be considered by the full commission tomorrow following a second public hearing. Before I close this meeting, I also want to echo the sentiments of our facilitators. A big, huge thanks to the staff for helping guide everyone through this virtual adoption of materials, not only just the training, but there were so many Zoom meetings. There was this crazy spreadsheet that Kyle had going on. There were so many different moving parts to it. So I just want to thank you so much for putting all of that work and effort into getting us prepared for the work. You made the work that much easier. So thank you very much, Kyle, Dr. Torres, and all of the staff for help making this possible. So yay to you guys. And lastly, before I close, I would like to wish my wonderful husband a happy birthday. And with that, I hereby close this meeting of the Arts SMC.
All right. Happy birthday to your husband. As a classroom teacher, I normally just get 25 minutes for lunch, but we're doing a 45-minute lunch today. Excellent work, Arts SMC. After lunch, we'll have the World Languages SMC. So 45-minute lunch. So we will meet back here at 12:25 12:25. And until then, please turn off your cameras and see you at 12:25. All right. Welcome back from break, commissioners. Next is item 4, which is the World Languages Subject Matter Committee. I am hereby going to hand it over to Commissioner Renteria.
Thank you, Chair Rustin. I call to order the World Languages Subject Matter Committee. The members of the World Languages SMC are myself, SMC Vice Chair Jarvis, Commissioner Gatonda, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Popovich, and Commissioner Garcia. Just as a reminder, to the CFER staff, to the World Languages SMC are Mike Torres, Administrator, and Alejandro Hernandez, who is our consultant. Today, our primary business is to hear public comment on the program submitted for consideration in the 2021 World Languages Instructional Materials Adoption, and to forward our recommendation to the full Instructional Quality Commission for those programs the SMC deems are fully aligned to the state board adopted content standards, framework, and evaluation criteria. The full commission will deliberate and forward its recommendations to the board tomorrow. For this item, the meeting will proceed as follows. First, I will provide a brief review of the adoption processes that have occurred this year. At the end of this review, I will ask each of the panel facilitators to present to the subject matter committee their panel's recommendation. Second, we will take public comment. The public hearing the public hearing is time certain and has publicly noted as 1 p.m. today. Once the public hearing is concluded, we will discuss any issues related to the programs, including but not limited to the written public comment forwarded to us by the CDE, comment provided at the August 17, 2021 meeting, and comment provided during the public hearing today. As part of this discussion, we must come to consensus on any additions to our recommendation, such as additional edits we may wish to include. The World Languages SMC must agree on any edits or corrections submitted in public comment if that information is to be included in the recommendation to the full commission. All such changes to the report of findings from the review panels must be specifically referenced in the motion to recommend the program for it to move forward to the next level. Once the discussion is concluded, we will vote to recommend or not recommend the 11 programs submitted for the 2020 World Languages adoption to the full commission. Now, we will hear from Alejandro Hernandez, Education Programs Consultant, and lead on the World Languages adoption on any statutory requirements that we should consider.
Thank you, Chair Renteria, and good afternoon, everyone. Very briefly, 4 publishers submitted a total of 11 World Languages instructional programs, which included a total of 3 performance levels: novice, intermediate, and advanced. While other content areas can be characterized by grade levels, for World Languages, instruction is categorized by proficiency levels, each of which represents approximately an equal amount of instructional time to that of a grade level course in other content areas. As you are aware, the individual review panel reports of findings recommend to the Instructional Quality Commission and for eventual State Board of Education adoption 10 of the 11 submitted instructional programs. Whether the number is 10 or 11, the instructional programs the review panels have recommended satisfy the adoption recommendations of California Education Code Section 60200, Part E of 5 or more basic instructional materials. And I'd just like to conclude by mentioning that the reports of findings from the review panels are available on the World Languages Instructional Materials Adoption webpage. Thank you.
Thanks, Alejandro. I will begin by reviewing some of the major steps taken in the process this year that have brought us to this meeting. In January of this year, the State Board appointed 39 instructional materials reviewers and 3 content review experts that were recommended by the Commission. The board also approved 1 non-commissioner to serve as a review panel facilitator. On January 27th of 2021, the California Department of Education hosted the publisher's invitation to submit meeting, where the statutory and regulatory requirements for participation in the adoption process were explained. As a result of Governor Newsom's executive order N-2920 related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the week-long training for board-appointed reviewers was held as an audio-video teleconference and live webcast in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. The training included synchronous meetings and asynchronous modules and took place from April 26th through April 30th. IMRs and CREs were trained to evaluate the submitted programs for alignment with the standards, framework, and evaluation criteria adopted by the board. On the final day of the training, reviewers attended presentations by the publishers of the programs that they were assigned to review. During the summer following the training, each reviewer conducted an independent review of the instructional materials assigned to his or her panel. Like the training, deliberations were virtual meetings. Reviewers met in panel-specific Zoom meetings during the week of July 26th through the 30th. The panels engaged in an in-depth discussion of the assigned programs. The panels took public comment twice a day, each day. After reaching consensus on their recommendations, the panel members developed a report of findings for each program. These reports were forwarded to the Commission and were also posted on the CDE website. The Commission hosted a public comment meeting. The Commission hosted a public meeting on August 17 to receive public comment on the IMR and CRE reports of findings. At today's meeting, the World Language SMC will conduct a public hearing and then take action to forward our recommendations on the program submitted for adoption to the full Commission for action tomorrow. In most cases, the programs will be recommended for adoption are considered pending upon satisfactory completion of specified edits and corrections and responses to the social content citations. Edits and corrections are defined as inexact language, imprecise definitions, mistaken notions, mislabeling, misspelling, and grammatical errors. Edits and corrections do not include rewrites, which include revising a section, chapter, or entire page, or adding new content to a program. Edits to a program to address social content issues must also meet these definitions. Such changes are not allowed during the adoption process. Additionally, certain publishers identified and submitted minimal errata as public comment for their programs. These publishers submitted errata forms are included in the public comment at the box.com link shared with the IQC and members of the public. All of the publishers submitted errata meet the definition of edits and corrections pursuant to the California Code of Regulations, Title V, Section 9510, and the changes indicated are considered part of the overall recommendation of the program. Meetings will be held with publishers to address the identified edits and corrections after the State Board takes action on the adoption at their November 2021 meeting. The Commission is not required to agree with the IMR CRE report of findings and may change the overall recommendation or list of recommended edits and corrections when it submits its own recommendation to the State Board. However, Title V regulations specifically state that the Commission may not recommend rewrites to instructional materials. All commissioners were given the web link to the posted IMR and CRE report of findings for each program reviewed and a list of all public comments collected prior to today's meeting. The public comment list includes all publishers submitted errata received by the CDE and any publisher challenges to specific edits or social content citations included in the IMR and CRE reports. Members of the public may access the IMR and CRE reports from the CDE webpage, and a box.com link containing the list of public comments received is available for review by members of the public. Commissioners are also have access to additional public comments submitted to the CDE after the most recent distribution of comments to commissioners. Before opening the public hearing, I would like to ask the panel facilitators to present an overview of their panel's reports to the subject matter committee. In your presentation, please address the panel's overall recommendation on the programs that they reviewed. So I'll go ahead and get started with panel 1, which was led by Commissioner Young. Under her leadership, they reviewed 5 different programs. Go ahead, Commissioner Young.
Thank you. I would like to also echo the sentiments that we've heard by the Arts Committee of just how incredible the Seaford staff was throughout this entire process. So again, our heartfelt thanks. Without them, getting through 5 different reviews would have been completely impossible. So I was able to facilitate an incredible group of very knowledgeable practitioners, and we worked collaboratively and systematically to review all of the submitted publications. The panel asked questions to the publishers. They took the answers back into deliberations. And the result was, I'll grab my other screen, En Voz Alta, Español para Hispanohablantes was recommended for the adoption because the instructional materials include content as specified in the World Language Standards, California Public Schools, kindergarten through grade 12, and met all the criteria in category 1 with strengths in categories 2 through 5. Que Chévere is also recommended for adoption with clear strengths in categories 2 through 5 and met all the criteria in category 1. Encuentros was recommended for adoption because of the instructional materials. All standards were met with in category 1 with very clear strengths in categories 2 through 5. Senderos is also recommended for adoption. All of the criteria in category 1 was met with strengths in categories 2 through 5. And then Rosetta Stone is not recommended for adoption, but they also withdrew their publication so that we went ahead and completed out the report of findings, but I did want to note that that program as it stood would not have met all of the criteria in category 1.
Thank you for your very thorough summary. I also just want to echo, I was able to join some of these deliberations, and it was just so impressive how in reviewing 5 programs, Commissioner Young was able to just go through it so seamlessly. And I was so lost with all the links because it was a spreadsheet that's the hub, and then you have your panels, and then you have your links for every program. And going in and out of every meeting, my hat goes off to all the facilitators because I did the science in person and I barely made it. I just barely survived, and you all made it look so easy. So just thank you for all your hard work. I'm moving on to panel number 2, which was led by Commissioner Fairchild.
So thank you. I got the privilege of doing this 2 weeks in a row, and I got to help out with the world language. And again, the group came prepared with all their notes. It made for a quick and easy deliberation. And I'm pleased to say that all 4 of the programs that we reviewed, Alba y Gael, Mapas, Reporteros, and Listos and Tolahia, were all recommended. They did meet the adoption. They included content, specific to the World Language Standards in kindergarten through 12, and they did meet the criteria in category 1, as well as they had strengths in 2 through 5. And I do want to give a little shout out to this group. They were very highly organized with their notes, and I can't stress that enough. For future, it makes the process go rather quickly. So it was a joy working with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fairchild. I also had the privilege of going into your deliberations, and I love that every one of your members, when it came time to look for citations, it was like, I have all my notes. I was like, it was a perfect group. And last, we have our panel 3, which is led by Commissioner Emeritus Naditz, who was able to come back for this. And I know that world languages is your passion, so I'm so excited that you got to come back.
Thank you so much, Chair Renteria, and it definitely is my passion. I was thrilled to be able to help facilitate this process. I also want to extend my thanks to the CFERD staff, whose support was invaluable, both in the moment and in the preparatory work behind the scenes that led to all of those structures being in place that really helped us be able to move through the work the way that we needed to. And like the others, I wish to also commend my panel, which was very, very well prepared. The term that was used back when I was trained to facilitate the panel for the history of social science adoption was copious notes. And we also put that into play with the training for these panels, and it really, really showed. This allowed us to quickly begin our in-depth discussions and to reach consensus votes where necessary, and then ultimately draft the reports of findings that you have before you. So in both cases, for the 2 programs that our panel reviewed, T'es branché and D'accord, in both cases, those programs are recommended for adoption by the panel because the instructional materials include content as specified in the World Languages Standards, and they meet all of the criteria in Category 1 with definite and clearly outlined strengths in Categories 2 through 5. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And now we are moving on to public hearing, but it's 1 p.m., right? So we can't get started ahead of time.
That is correct, Chair Renteria. So since it is time certain at 1 o'clock, we will have to take a break and we will have to resume at 1 o'clock. So we'll need you to suggest that to the IQC or to the SMC.
Okay. So SMC, are you okay with going ahead and pausing for now and coming back at 1 p.m. to continue with our public hearing? Perfect. I see thumbs up from the SMC. So we'll go ahead and take a short 18-minute break. See you all at 1 p.m. All right. So now that it is 1 p.m., we will now open the World Language SMC public hearing on the 2021 World Languages Adoption. Before we take the first speaker, I want to remind the audience of what the World Language SMC can and cannot do. We cannot change the state content standards. We cannot change the evaluation criteria for this adoption. We cannot delay or stop the adoption. We cannot rewrite the text. However, we can recommend minor edits and corrections, which were described earlier. We can also recommend additional social content citations. Public comment will be organized as follows. Denise Figueroa will announce to speakers when it is their turn to make public comment. Speakers, when prompted, please state your name, affiliation, if any, and begin your comment. As a reminder, written comments for the World Language SMC can be sent to iqc@cde.ca.gov. During the public hearing, speakers will be allowed 1 minute to speak. Please do not repeat what previous speakers have said. If you agree with the previous speaker, you can just state that and yield your time. Speakers may not yield their time to another speaker, nor may speakers add to their time by reading comments from another member of the public who is not present. Go ahead, Denise. Do we have public comment?
Currently do not have any callers.
So at this point, just for clarification, do we wait or do we move on to close the public hearing?
So at this point, since there's nobody on the line for public comment, you can proceed with adjourning the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Given that there is no public comment, I will go ahead and adjourn the World Languages SMC public hearing on the 2021 World Languages Adoption for kindergarten through grade 8. I want to thank the Commission for their interest, time, and effort each of you has contributed to present your views to us today. So now that we have taken up the public comment, we will conduct any necessary discussion and then make our motions to recommend programs to the full commission. We will discuss the programs by the panels in which they were deliberated, starting with instructional programs in panel 1 and then moving on to panels 2 and 3. As a reminder, panel 1, which was facilitated by Commissioner Young, included the following programs: Get Chévere by Carnegie Learning Inc., also En Voz Alta by Carnegie Learning Inc., Rosetta Stone Foundations, and by Vista Higher Learning, Senderos and Encuentros. Panel 2, facilitated by Commissioner Fairchild, had 3 programs by CLET USA Inc., Alba y Gael, Mapas, and Reporteros. They also had by Vista Higher Learning, Listos y Antología. And panel 3, led by Commissioner Emeritus Natives, by Carnegie Learning, Tasbranch, and by Vista Higher Learning, Dakar. Now, let me discuss in more depth the voting procedures we will be using so you know what to expect. In terms of voting protocols, each motion should include the following language: recommend, publisher, program title, grade level, and say that to the full commission. Please include any of the following: with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings. And if there's any changes made, just go ahead and add as amended by the SMC, or with any other edits and corrections and social content citations identified by the SMC. All motions are made in the affirmative to recommend the program to the full commission. If the motion passes, the program will be recommended by the SMC for adoption by the full commission. If the motion fails, the program will not be recommended by the SMC to the full commission for adoption by the School Board of Education. Motion, second, discussion, and roll call. A motion will be made for each program, followed by a second to the motion. Remember that making the motion or seconding does not obligate the commissioner to vote a certain way. Once the motion was made and seconded, commissioners will then have an opportunity to discuss any issues they have. This includes any additional edits and corrections, social content citations, publisher errata, or recommendations that run counter to the recommendation in the panel report of findings before the final vote. Remember that if any commissioner suggested edits, including edits suggested in public comment, are to be included in the recommendation to the full commission, then they must be included in the amended motion. For example, adding the comprehensive edits and corrections suggested by a publisher in the public comment submission, citing a particular date, would in some cases modify the edits and corrections listed in the report of findings. A roll call vote will be taken on each motion. There are 8 members of the World Language SMC, so it takes 5 votes in the affirmative to recommend the program. Remember, as we vote that, there shall be no voting by proxy, and the chair may call for substantive motions made from the floor to be submitted in writing to the recording secretary if necessary. So this is the process for voting we will follow for the rest of the meeting. Are there any comments or questions from members of the SMC? All right, let's begin. I need a motion to recommend Carnegie Learning Inc.'s Get Chévere for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Okay. I see Vice Chair Jarvis.
I make a motion to recommend Carnegie Learning Inc.'s Get Chévere for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with any edits or corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion? I see Commissioner Gotanda.
I second the motion.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there any discussion? Right. Seeing none. And I just want to make sure I add here, public comment was provided by the publisher, and we all had access to that in the box link. Just want to make sure everyone's aware. All right. Are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to make a comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board Liaison?
So just as a quick pause, there is errata that was submitted for Carnegie.
Is this I just want to make sure, is that the one where they requested the removal of 2 edits and the 2 social citations? Are we looking at the same?
Actually, I'm going to defer to Alejandro because it's not opening on my computer.
I'll need to open the document myself. 1 second.
So I have it open in front of me right now, and I know that they submitted public comment to dispute 2 edits and 2 social citations. As part of discussion, I will share. I did review the report of findings, and I was able to attend the deliberations, and I know that our content review experts, they had very specific reasons to why they provided these edits. So I want to be respectful to the knowledge that they brought to the table. So I myself am not sure if everyone has access to this. I just want to make sure that. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Young, please.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that as well. I read through their public comment, and I'm in full agreement with you. There was very specific rationale provided by the content experts that were seated on the panel. So I would like to proceed with the way that the report was written, as it was intended the first time.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Commissioner Fairchild?
Is it possible to resend the box link? Mine is not opening as well. I'm not sure. Sorry. Thank you.
We'll resend that out, Commissioner Fairchild.
Is there any further discussion on the motion at hand? Commissioner Fairchild, do you have another? Oh, okay. All right. So I believe then that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. And again, the motion was to recommend the Carnegie Learning Inc. Sketchevite for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with the edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR and CRE report of findings. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes, sorry, I was just resending that link, so you all should have just gotten that. So, SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
Vice Chair Jarvis? Yes. Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, let's address the next instructional program. I need a motion to recommend Carnegie Learning Inc.'s En Voz Alta Español para Hispanohablantes for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission. Do I have a motion? Okay. I see you, Commissioner Jarvis.
Make a motion to recommend Carnegie Learning Inc.'s En Voz Alta Español para Hispanohablantes for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission, with any edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Do I have a second? Okay. Commissioner Munoz.
Second.
Okay. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. Are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to make a comment on this motion? Oh, first, is there any discussion? Commissioner Munoz?
No.
Oh, okay. So seeing no discussion from the SMC, are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board liaisons? All right. And for this one, I just also want to ensure there is also a errata that was submitted, correct, Alejandro?
I'm sorry. I was responding to a question. Can you repeat your question?
I want to make sure for this one, we also have public comment. There was a errata that was received from them en voz alta.
I think the errata had a similar take.
Okay.
Yes.
So seeing that there was no discussion, then that means the SMC is voting to move forward with the motion at hand to keep as is the report of findings, correct? Perfect. So then I believe that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend Rosetta Stone foundations for the novice, intermediate, and advanced levels of proficiency in Spanish to the full commission. Is there a motion? And just for clarification purposes, this is where we do an affirmative, but a reminder that the Rosetta Stone Foundations was not recommended by the reviewers. So I see your hand up, Commissioner Jarvis.
So just to confirm that we'll make the motion, but knowing that it's been withdrawn, we'll still have to go through the process, correct? Okay. Okay, so I make a motion to recommend Rosetta Stone's LTD's Rosetta Stone Foundations for the novice, intermediate, and advanced levels of proficiency in Spanish to the full commission.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second? Commissioner Gotanda?
Second.
Okay. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none. Are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SNC who would like to comment on the motion? So I just want to, just as a quick reminder, as Commissioner Jarvis said, this is a publisher that withdrew from participation during the deliberations, but given that the reviewers already had reviewed all the instructional materials, they went ahead and still completed a report of findings and submitted to us for our review as well. Okay. Are there any comments from State Board liaisons? Seeing none, I believe we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
No.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
No.
Commissioner Gotanda?
No.
Commissioner Munoz?
No.
Commissioner Williamson?
No.
Commissioner Young?
No.
Commissioner Garcia?
No.
IQC Chair Rustin?
No.
The motion fails.
All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning's Senderos California edition for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission. Looking for a hand. Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes, I make a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning Senderos California edition for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission with any edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR and CRE report of findings.
Perfect, thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion? Okay. Commissioner Williamson?
I second.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Williamson. Is there any discussion? And for this specific program, there was no public comment. Okay. I believe then, are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board liaisons? All right, I believe we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning Inc.'s Encuentros California edition for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Jarvis.
I make a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning's Encuentros California edition for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission with any edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Munoz?
Second.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. Is there any discussion? Are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? I see a hand, Commissioner Munoz. Is it still up from?
Oh yeah, I forgot to put it down, sorry.
I want to make sure. I have the hands right there just so I don't miss anything. Are there any comments from the State Board liaisons? All right, then I believe we're ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. All right, let's address, we're moving now on to the next panel. Let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend CLAT USA Inc.'s Alba y Gael for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Okay, Commissioner Gotanda?
I move that we recommend CLAT USA's Inc.'s Alba y Gael for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Garcia.
Commissioner Garcia, second the motion.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Is there any discussion? Are there any commissioners not on the, oh, go ahead, Commissioner Jarvis.
So I think this one had some errata attached to it, and I just wanted to just make a comment that I appreciate the panel's recommendation to change some of the language to potentially reflect more of the Spanish language that's spoken in the United States. But I appreciate that we are going to have an offering that uses more of the language Castilian that's used in Spain as a potential offering for our LEAs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Are there any commissioners not? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Furtog.
Sorry, are we accepting the errata?
That can be part of the discussion. I read through the errata.
I'm not on the committee, but I just wanted to see if we were accepting the errata.
Okay. I wasn't sure if Commissioner Jarvis was trying to make an amendment. Go ahead, Commissioner Jarvis.
So I would like to accept the errata submitted by the publisher. I think that having that variety in instructional materials for our LEAs to determine what program best suits their students is a fair opportunity for them to choose, and changing it to words that would be different or take away from the way it's written would take away, I think, the opportunity for students to learn about other Spanish words used in other countries that also speak Spanish.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gotanda.
I'd like to amend my motion to include the errata as well.
Okay. So may I please have city staff summarize the requested changes to the IMRCI report of findings or any additional edits and corrections, social content citations, or publisher errata as discussed by the SMC? Alejandro?
Yeah, I was just going to ask for a clarification. So all submitted errata is being accepted. Is that correct?
For Alba y Gael?
Yes.
I think based on the Commissioner Gotanda's new amended motion, that's what we wanted to do, right, Commissioner Gotanda?
That is correct, based on Commissioner Jarvis's recommendation as well.
Thank you.
So do we need are we going to need an amendment to the motion, or is, yes? Okay,
That is correct. So at this point, since we need to amend the motion, Alejandro, or the SMC has now said exactly what the changes are going to be, except the errata. And based with that on the floor, then we need an amended motion to include that errata.
Okay. So I need an amendment to the motion to recommend CLET USA Inc.'s Alba y Gael for the novice proficiency level in Spanish, California edition, for the novice and intermediate proficiency levels in Spanish to the full commission. Go ahead, Commissioner Gotanda.
So moved with the errata.
Perfect. All right. The motion has been amended by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there a second? I see Commissioner Jarvis.
I second the motion.
Okay, the motion has been seconded by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there any further discussion? I believe then we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend CLET USA Inc.'s MAPAS for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Do I see a, okay. Go ahead, Vice Chair Jarvis.
I make a motion to recommend CLET USA Inc.'s MAPAS for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with any edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Perfect. Do I have a second? Go ahead, Commissioner Young.
I second.
All right, the motion has been seconded by Commissioner Young. Is there any discussion? I noticed that for this program, there was also errata submitted, but it was just additional edits and corrections, right? And it's like typos and much minor. So if we want to adopt those additional edits, then we need to make an amendment. Are you all okay with taking those additional edits from MAPAS? Go ahead, Commissioner Jarvis.
Yes, I would like to accept the edits from MAPAS.
Okay. So may I please have CD staff summarize the requested changes to the IMR CRE report of findings or any additional edits and corrections, social content citations, or publisher errata as discussed by the SMC?
So the addition to the proposed recommendation is to add the errata submitted by the publisher.
Thank you, Alejandro. Okay. Given that there were changes, I need an amendment to the motion to recommend CLET USA Inc.'s MAPAS for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Anyone to make the motion? Go ahead, Vice Chair Darks.
I make a motion to include the errata submitted by the publisher.
Okay. The motion has been amended by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second to that motion? Go ahead, Commissioner Munoz.
I second.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. I believe then that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend CLET USA Inc.'s Reporteros for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Do we have a motion? Go ahead, Vice Chair Jarvis.
Make a motion to recommend CLET USA's Inc.'s Reporteros for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with edits and corrections and the social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings, and to include the errata submitted by the publisher.
Sorry. Go ahead. Do you have a question? Or is that for a second? Oh, sorry.
That's for a second.
Okay, perfect. I was like, you were too quick. Okay. The motion has been made by Vice Chair Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion? I see you, Chair Rustin.
Yes, I would like to second that motion.
Okay. The motion has been seconded by our Chair Rustin. Is there any discussion? So then just to clarify, the motion already includes the publisher errata here. So there is no need for amendment. Are there any commissioners not in the World Languages SNC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from State Board Liaison? Okay, I believe then we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning's Listos Más Antología for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission. Do we have a motion? Go ahead, Vice Chair Jarvis.
Make a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning's Listos Más Antología for the novice proficiency level in Spanish to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
The motion has been made by Vice Chair Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Gotanda.
Second the motion.
The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there any discussion? Are there any commissioners not in the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board Liaison? All right. I believe then we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Let's go ahead. We're now moving into panel 3 programs. All right, let's address the next program. I'm going to need a motion to recommend Carnegie Learning Inc.'s TOS branch for the novice level of proficiency in French to the full commission. Do I have a motion? Go ahead, Commissioner Munoz.
I move that we, I'm sorry to call it, my sound is going out. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we can.
Because I can barely hear you. Okay. I move that we recommend Carnegie Learning Tres Branch for the novice level of proficiency in French to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citations as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Okay. The motion has been made by Commissioner Munoz. Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Williamson.
I second.
Okay. And the motion has been seconded by Commissioner Williamson. Is there any discussion? Okay. All right. Seeing none, are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board Liaisons?
Chair, excuse me, Chair Renteria, I did want to point out that the publisher did provide some errata in case the committee wanted to consider that.
I just wanted to comment on that errata. I know that it was in response to the findings and requesting to remove some of the, 4 of the edits and 4 of the social content citations, but similar to some of the other programs, I personally felt that the content review experts and reviewers were very intentional about selecting those edits and including them in the report of findings. So that is why I did not bring them up as a possible amendment to include it. But I'm not sure if any other SNC member feels differently. All right, seeing no discussion then, I believe that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, Only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. All right. Let's address the next program. I need a motion to recommend Vista Higher Learning's DECORD for the novice level of proficiency in French to the full commission. Go ahead, Commissioner Williamson.
All right. I recommend Vista Higher Learning's DECORD for the novice level of proficiency in French to the full commission with edits and corrections and social content citation as noted in the IMR CRE report of findings.
Okay. The motion has been made by Commissioner Williamson. Is there a second to the motion? I see Commissioner Munoz.
Yes, I second.
Okay. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are there any commissioners not on the World Languages SMC who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board liaisons? Okay. All right, then. I believe that we are ready to vote by roll call. Remember, only members of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee can vote on the motion. Denise, can you please conduct the roll call vote?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Hey, well, that concludes our voting. I want to thank you for your thoughtful discussion and actions today. Our recommendations will be considered by the full commission tomorrow following a second public hearing. I now close this meeting of the World Languages SMC.
Thank you very much, SMC Chair Renteria. Excellent job. Shout out to the whole SMC for the whole process from beginning to tomorrow's final recommendation. And I believe, unless Interim Executive Director Dr. Torres has something to say about it, I believe we're done for the day.
Well, I could share a long 1 hour joke with you all, but I have other things to take care of at this time.
All right, then it sounds like we are done for the day. Thank you, commissioners, for your thoughtful conversations. That concludes our agenda for the day, and I will now adjourn today's meeting. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m.